Welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Myself. I am your host, Rayne, and it is so good to be back. I know I drop these weekly, but things have been going on in the background. The Myself method has launched and it is enrolled and we have started and it's so exciting. I've got an incredible bunch of women in there who are all working through so many things, and I think we go back to the business side of things, and I just love this work so much. Why do I love this work? Because I know, 8-9 years ago when I was really brave enough to say yes to my healing, yes to my inner world, I finally understood what this work was about. I finally understood the impact that my inner world actually had on every single thing that was happening in my outer world. My abundance, my money, my relationships, my connections with friends, everything, every situation I was attracting, it was all to do with my inner world. And that's why I love this work so much, because I get to teach women how to heal their traumas and how to work through their inner world so that they can thrive and actually feel alive in their bodies and alive in their life. And that's why I love it so much. But I am back from an incredible holiday and the kids are back at school and I did my sourdough on the weekend. So all is right with the world again. It has been an incredible 2025. Not long to go, ladies and gentlemen, in case you were wondering. Not long to go at all. Which actually leads me into this episode. I want to talk about something called magnetism. I want to talk about it in a way where I get to connect with you on what the hell that actually means and why it is one of the most important concepts that you can grasp when it comes to, creating this life that you actually love. And it's almost like I'm so sick of saying that. Create the life you love, create this you desire, you deserve, you are enough. Unless you actually go, holy shit, I believe her, or holy shit, I actually want that, or where is my courage? And step into it. It's like water off a duck's back. It's like reading something and scrolling on past. But if you are really wanting to understand why you're in the situation you're in, and if you are really wanting to change, then this episode is for you. So stick around, have a listen. If you love it, share it, screenshot it, send me a DM on Instagram. I will repost anyone who wants to share my episodes, but I'm so excited and happy you're here. So let's just get stuck into it. Welcome to the Pursuit of Myself, the podcast. Here we take ownership of our healing. We rewrite the rules, we turn knowledge into wisdom, and we lead our lives with intention. I'm your host, Rayne, and it's my mission to empower you to get back into the driver's seat of your life. Let's talk about being magnetic and what the hell that actually means. Because everyone wants to attract the relationship, the money, the peace, the community, the life that feels like it fits. But here's the question I want you to sit with today. Can you actually hold what you say you want? Most people focus on attracting what they desire, attracting the life they desire. But few ever learn how to hold it once it arrives. And what I've learned, both in my own life and from working with hundreds of women, is this. You can only hold as much as your nervous system feels safe to receive. So if you've ever manifested the thing, the partner, the job, the money, the business, and then watched it slip away, this episode is for you. Now, before we talk about magnetism, we have to meet ourselves exactly where we're at. So this isn't mindset. This isn't forcing yourself to say affirmations and pretend like you're somewhere where you want to be, but you're not. This is meeting yourself where you're at, which I get sometimes can be a scary concept, especially if you are not where you want to be. If you're standing in guilt, if you're standing in shame, if you're standing with I should have, I could have. But this is the key. We have to meet ourselves exactly where we are at, because magnetism isn't about faking confidence, being high vibe, or like forcing mindset and positivity. Magnetism is about honesty. It's about self-intimacy. It's about knowing yourself so deeply that you stop abandoning yourself for approval, for validation, for comfort. So I want you to ask yourself, where do I still leave myself just to keep the peace? Where do I say yes when my whole body is just a no? Where do I betray my truth just to belong? And you might find that if you're reflecting right now in friendship groups, at work, at home in your marriage. Where are you betraying your truth just to belong? Because every single act of self-abandonment, it leaks your magnetism. You can't attract from authenticity while you're living out of alignment. When you abandon yourself, you actually teach your body that your truth is not safe. What you want is not safe. And that becomes the baseline of where your nervous system regulates to. So let me explain. I had a client who kept calling in emotionally unavailable men. And by I mean client, I could also be talking about myself here. She would say, why do I always attract men who are emotionally unavailable? Why do I always attract men who are either just out of relationships or in a relationship? But when someone did start showing up fully, she would retreat. She didn't feel safe. She'd find something wrong, pick a fight, break up with him before it actually started, before he could actually hurt her, and would end things before they would get too close. So when I worked with this particular client, and I'm telling you now, this is also a mirror to my life, what came up wasn't that she didn't want love. It was that her nervous system had linked love with danger, love with abandonment, love with rejection. Growing up, love always came with volatility, and it wasn't modeled to her that love, safe love, was safe. So there was a period of time after my separation, and I had been alone for a little bit, and I decided it was time to get back out there again. And what was happening was I kept calling in emotionally unavailable men. And the interesting part was, as much as I was at the beginning going out, I don't want a relationship, I just want to have some fun, I just want to get back out there again, the men that I was attracting were completely a mirror to what I was calling in. They were really young. They hadn't had much relationship experience. They'd never had a marriage, let alone children. And for a period of time, that was reflecting exactly how I felt on the inside. After that so-called few years, we're not going to argue about timelines here, I decided that I was ready for a relationship. So what started to happen was I would call in men that were ready for a relationship, but they were still, in my eyes, emotionally unavailable. They still had personal baggage, or they were still young, they were still immature, they still had no relationship experience. And again, what I was doing, my inner world, was calling in what was safe at that time. Now, you can actually go back, because I work with clients and so many women come with me and say, I keep falling for emotionally unavailable men. And then my question is to you, do you feel like you are emotionally available to actually hold the space of what you want? So what would happen was they would meet someone, or I would meet someone, and they'd be either just out of a relationship, or they'd be going through the separation process, or they would be great on paper, but just not ready for a relationship, hence emotionally unavailable. Now, why was this happening? And all this work, in this work, we know that our inner world reflects our outer world. So I want you to sit and reflect on this if you're resonating with this story. What are you actually attracting in at the moment? And why are you attracting emotionally unavailable? Your consciousness might be, I am ready for a relationship, but your inner world is like, you have not done the healing, girl. You are not ready. You have not got that wound sorted. You have not looked at that trauma. You have brushed over it, and off you go again. Now you're looking for someone to come and fill that hole, make you feel good for a second, and make you feel like you're not alone, but that trauma, that wound is still sitting there, and that's where you're attracting from. And when you can actually wrap your head around that concept, you get to actually understand why you're calling those men in and what is going on for you. And again, this happened not only with myself for years, to the point where I attracted someone who was like perfect on paper and everything that was on my list, but emotionally unavailable to the degree and what I wanted. Now, later on, I'm going to tell you how I got through this. But for now, so with one of my clients, even when someone did start showing up, that was emotionally available, she would retreat. She would find something wrong or pick a fight or end things before they could get too close because love was not safe. So when we worked together, what came up wasn't that she didn't want love. It was different to mine. Mine was I was not emotionally available on the inside because I hadn't done my work. But with this particular client, what came up for her is that her nervous system had linked love with danger. She had always witnessed growing up that love came with rejection, love came with affairs or volatility. So her whole body had learned that distance equals safety. She was not safe if she was too close because she would get hurt. Now, once we started that work of regulating the nervous system and building up safety in the calmness, not in the chaos, everything changed for her. She didn't just attract someone healthy this time. Her body didn't actually run. So this is the essence of magnetism. And I want to go back, even with my example. Mine wasn't that I had been modeled love that was danger. Mine was that internally I hadn't healed my guilt and shame for what I had been through with the ending of my marriage. So when you are attracting from guilt and shame and not from a regulated, peaceful nervous system, your energy says, hey, I'm here, but no one can attach to that. No one that is emotionally ready and emotionally grounded and emotionally ready to give you what you want is going to be attracted to the energy of shame and guilt. So this is actually where the healing starts. Because it's not about getting out there and chasing what you want. It's about becoming safe in your body with what you want, doing your healing. And when you are safe inside, you attract that person, you attract that circumstance, you attract that situation so that you can then attract it from a place of peace, not from a place of I'm lonely, fix me, I'm sad, fix me. And a lot of my clients even go out when they find someone, you'll find that it's like they get this anxious attachment. It's like you get this feeling of we're together. Yay, I found someone, and you attach, but not from a place of wholeness. It's from a place of you're filling that void that's sitting in me. So I can't let that go because it feels good. When we attract from wholeness and authenticity and peace, and we don't anxiously attach because we feel safe in our bodies to allow the process to do what it needs to do. We attract an emotionally available human that's ready to meet us where we're at. So let's pause here because I would like you to reflect if this is resonating. This is a question that I get asked all the time. And that is, what does it actually mean to feel safe being me? So what this means is your body no longer perceives your authenticity as a threat. It means you can express your truth without rehearsing it first. So it means you can rest without feeling that guilt, that you can receive love without overgiving to have to earn your love. You can be seen without shrinking or overperforming. You can feel safe being you. You can feel safe having opinions. You can feel safe being you, which actually means you stay connected to yourself, even when others don't approve. So you no longer need to abandon who you are to keep the connection. And that's what changes everything. That's what means you feel safe. Because when you feel safe just being you, your energy becomes coherent with that. You actually stop leaking and chasing and controlling and pleasing. That coherence, that alignment between your inner world and your outer expression, your essence, is your magnetism. And we can actually apply this to money as well. I had another client who hit her first 10K months. She was over the moon. And the next month, her income dropped back to dismal. And not because she wasn't capable, but because her body wasn't associated with money and with the pressure of having money. So she had grown up hearing things like people with money are selfish, money changes you. She had a really negative programming on what money actually meant. So the moment she received more, her system contracted. It spent it all really quickly. It was like, this is not safe. We need to get out of it. You know, she said yes to things she didn't need, and her body went right back to what feels safe, which was in the struggle, in the scarcity. So we did the work to expand her capacity, not by chasing more money or changing the program that we'd built, but by healing her relationship to power and to worth when it came to money. And once her body learned that it's safe to hold abundance, that it doesn't mean that she's mean and nasty and frowned upon, it stopped disappearing. And we practice this over and over again. You can't hold what you still judge or fear, and you can't sustain what you subconsciously feel guilty for having. And it's the same goes as we hear, lotto winners who lose all the money. And we think, oh my God, I'm going to win $10 million. I'd be set for life. I would not lose that. But do you know the percentage? I actually haven't done that. Can't give it to you right now, but have a look at that. Google, what is it? The percentage of people that lose all their money after winning the lotto. It's ridiculous. And we all think it's not going to be us. But if you don't feel safe holding that amount, it is all the inner work, not the bank account, then you will find a way for it to fly out the door. You will make the wrong decision. You'll be pushed in the wrong direction, right? And it will feel awful. But this is the power of the inner work. So I want to actually define what holding the capacity really means, because it's at the heart of everything that I teach inside the Myself method. Capacity is your energetic, emotional, and nervous system space to receive, hold, and sustain what you desire. So the energetic capacity part is how you hold your energy. Do you leak it into worry, people-pleasing, or control? The emotional capacity is that you can stay open when it's uncomfortable. Or do you shut down when things are unfamiliar or you're not sure where it's going? These are questions that you can ask yourself, because your nervous system capacity is, can your body stay regulated when things get good? Or do you get scared that the rug's going to get pulled out from under you, that it's going to be taken away, that it's too good to be true? What does your nervous system say to you? Here's how to know if you've hit your current limit. When things start doing well, do you brace for it to end? When you're seen or supported, or someone compliments you, do you pull back? When you receive money or love, do you immediately look for what's wrong? What's on the back of my shoulder? What's actually happening here, right? And people talk about self-sabotage. It's not sabotage. It's actually your system trying to keep you safe. And here is the kicker. When it comes to desire, right, we can look at desire as the spark for what you want. This is what I desire. This is the spark. This is it. This is like that's what I want. But capacity, it's the container that you hold your desires in. And this is what we need to expand. You can desire love, wealth, peace, money, but if your system doesn't feel safe with it, it'll find ways to let it go. It'll find ways to reject it, to abandon it. That's what it does. That's why, as I said, most lotto winners, I'm sure it's most, lose the money within, let's say, 5 years. Their external reality expands way faster than their internal capacity. And it's not that they didn't deserve it, they just didn't feel safe having it. So let's bring that into your world. If the man walked into your life right now, that man that you want, that man you desire, could you receive him without getting attached? Could you hold that relationship without trying to control it? Or would you end it first just to avoid the pain of them ending it for you? Because that's the difference between attraction and magnetism. Attraction, it pulls it in, but the magnetism, your inner world, your authenticity, that's what holds it steady. That's what keeps it there in that beautiful, grounded story that you're building for yourself. Another woman I work with said she wanted deep soul level friendships, connections, but she always withdrew when people got too close. She found herself attaching people to bitchiness. She found herself attracting the wrong type of community, always abandoning herself, not being able to feel like she could have opinion. And her survival strategy is just, ended up being, I'll do it alone. And ended up being very lonely on the friend front. We traced it back to a time where needing others, she was always let down. It was rejection or disappointment. And her body had learned that independence equaled safety for her. She would just do it on her own. So how we worked through this is she started practicing small acts of receiving. So I got her to actually let someone help. I got her to ask for a little bit of support, to accept support when it was offered, saying yes to that person that had reached out and said, hey, let's just have a coffee. And her whole world shifted, because what was happening was she started to attract new friendships from this new place of, okay, I don't want to do this on alone, because she deeply desired being in a community and deeply desired being in friendship. But we had to shift that to go, what do you deeply desire? And can you hold the capacity to attain that? So when we tapped into her ability just to say yes and accept some support, she attracted new friends, right? And these friendships, they came with connection because her body finally believed that being in real, authentic connection, it was safe and it felt good and she could actually rely on people. So if you are interested or curious about how to expand the capacity to receive money, love, friendships, this is what we do inside the Myself Method. We don't just sit here and manifest. We build the nervous system and emotional capacity to hold the life that you're calling in. So here are some tips on where to start to build your capacity. So first of all is to regulate daily. You cannot hold expansion if your system is still anchored in survival. So this might look like meditation, breathwork, presence, movement in dance. These are reps of safety. Get these into your day every single day. Tip two is to rehearse receiving. Let compliments land. Let help come in. Rest if you need to rest. Allow people to be there for you. Every time you receive without guilt, you expand your baseline. Next is make a commitment to stop abandoning yourself. You cannot be magnetic while rejecting who you are. Magnetism is built in moments when you choose, let's say, honesty over harmony, when you choose boundaries over other people's approval, and when you choose truth over simply fitting in. Every time you stay with yourself, when you don't abandon yourself, especially when it's uncomfortable, your magnetism, it grows. The next thing that I will ask you to do is to forgive your patterns. Every time you do self-sabotage, and you will do it, you're meeting a younger part of you who still believes that safety lives in control, and we need to meet her where she's at. Forgive her. Let her put her sword down. Let her rest. Let her have some moments just to be. We don't need to judge and be harsh on ourselves all the time. Just move through it with compassion. And then we can anchor into self-trust. When you trust that you can hold yourself, whether it's love, money, or peace, or whatever it is you're calling in, your body will stop pushing it away. Your energy will stop pushing it away. Magnetism is not a trick or a tactic. It's a state of safety. It's the natural byproduct of a woman who no longer abandons herself. So take a moment and ask yourself, what am I asking for that I don't feel safe having yet? Where do I still abandon myself for love, approval, or belonging? What parts of my life am I still allowing to run on autopilot? What would safety feel like in my body right now? Not in theory, but actually in sensation, like somatically. What would feel safe? Because your outer world will always rise to meet your inner world. It will always be your reflection. When you feel safe being you, like fully, unapologetically you without the mask, everything else will calibrate to that. Now, you don't need to become more magnetic. You just need to become more safe. So when it comes to listening to these instructions, I want you to really take away one thing. This is not like you need to become more magnetic. That is a byproduct of the magnetism is the byproduct. You just need to become more safe being unapologetically you. Because when you stop abandoning yourself, when your system learns that your authenticity is safe, magnetism becomes inevitable. It's just the byproduct is what happens. And this is exactly where we begin inside the Myself Method. Before we shift beliefs or talk about purpose or abundance, we create safety in the body. We expand your capacity to hold the life you've been working so hard to attract. And I know you've been working hard to attract it, even if it feels like nothing's happening. So if you are ready to stop chasing and start receiving, click the link in the show notes and request a call. We'll jump on and explore what this work could look like for you and whether the Myself Method is the right next step. Because attraction without safety is not expansion. It's just chaos for the system. So let's build your capacity to hold the life that you crave.